Welcome into another edition of Locked On 76ers. His name is Keith Pompey. My name is Marc Farzetta. 25-year celebration of the Sixers making the finals. Yay! 25 years since the Sixers have been in the finals. Boo! We'll talk about that and more when we return. This is Locked On 76ers.
You are Locked On 76ers, your daily Philadelphia 76ers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And we do thank you for making Locked On 76ers your first listen every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This particular episode brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is here, and right now new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the FanDuel app by going to FanDuel.com to get started. Keith, you had proposed something yesterday about 25 years, right? 25 years since the Sixers have been in the finals, and rightfully so. The Sixers are honoring that with the Allen Iverson jersey that we've talked about already. I'm excited. You're not nearly as excited as I am, but I'm excited. They're going to be wearing it 14 different times. You see on the screen right now, the 14 games they're going to be wearing those classic black Allen Iverson jerseys. I can't wait to see Tyrese Maxey running around in those. But you had talked about maybe the top moments. You proposed the idea of going through the top moments of the last 25 years since the Sixers have been to the finals. And I am literally starting to put a list together, and we're going to ask the good people of Philadelphia to help us with this list as well. But as I am doing this list, I'm like, wow, 25 years, man. You're thinking about the Andre Iguodala era, him being a max player. You're talking about ownership changing hands. You really got to go through a lot here. Multiple GMs. I think it's been 175 general managers since that 25. Maybe slight exaggeration. But Keith, I got to be honest, as I am putting this list together of like good moments, I am getting more and more pissed off. Not at of course, the celebration for me is nostalgic. It's beautiful to go back to Iverson crossing over Tyronn Lue and stepping over Tyronn Lue. I go back over this 25 years, and the question that keeps repeating in my brain is, why? The 76ers, why? A franchise like this, 25 years. I know everyone makes a big deal about the second round of the playoffs, but you're talking 25 years since you've competed for the conference title, since you've been in a championship, even longer, obviously, since you won a championship. What can we put our finger on it at all? Why 25 years? Why? How's that happen?
I think the major thing is it was started off with initially was bad draft picks. I mean, they had a plethora of draft first round picks, and a lot of these guys just didn't work out. Secondly, I also think that it was a poor culture, and that contributed to a lot of things. I mean, when we talk about the poor culture, we went into that last week or earlier this week, where you talk about how a guy like, Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons, they don't, when they get here, they don't really have veterans like leading the way, telling them what to do. So what happens is you develop poor habits. You like nobody holds you accountable. And next thing you know, that stuff kind of like hurts. Like it hurts you in the long run. But I also think that when you look at the 76ers, in addition to these bad draft picks and poor culture, they made some trades and they did stuff that they did back in the day. Like, for instance, when they went out there and traded for Chris Webber. It was when Chris Webber wasn't the Chris Webber that we thought he was.
Right.
So then you go out and you bring in guys, and you brought in, James Harden, you bring in Jimmy Butler, now it's, Paul George, they got Tobias Harris. They went out there and they made all these major splashes, and they won the trades in the summertime or the free agent signings in the summertime, but they just didn't work out for them. Al Horford. I mean, you think about this, all these guys that they had, you can argue maybe not Tobias, maybe not Al Horford, but the rest of these guys, you can look at them and say, they're going to be Hall of Famers, but they still couldn't get it done. You look at the hiring of Doc Rivers, like that was supposed to be the hiring. He was supposed to take us to the promised land. Everybody thought, right? It didn't happen. You look at Daryl Morey, like everyone was like doing backflips over Daryl Morey. Now this team goes from a second round team to a play-in team to not even making a playoff, a tanking squad. So it's just been a lot of poor decisions along the way. But when you look at the history and all the guys that they had in their resumes, you have to say, like, they just underachieved major. And I think it all started with the poor draft picks, the poor culture, and the missing on trades and free agent signees.
Yeah, I agree with everything. I think it all stems from too many cooks in the kitchen, which is a phrase I use a lot because I think when so many people have their fingerprints on it and you change hands so many different times, and this goes from ownership, going not just from Ed Snyder to the Harris Apollo Global Group originally, now Harris Splitzer Sports Entertainment. But you also talk within that, you have Adam Aaron, and he became the face of the Andrew Bynum deal. You changed hands again. Harris becomes more of a face. You go through the whole situation there with Sam Hinkie, where you're talking about getting bounced out of the second round of the playoffs against the Boston Celtics. Then you have an atrocious year after that. And then you start the process. You're out of it for like 5 years, 6 years completely. Then all of a sudden you have 7 straight years of making the playoffs, but again, still can't make it out of the second round of the playoffs. And all that while, change in coaches, change in general manager, change in final say over who this team is drafted. 25 years since. And even since the finals, I mean, you look at immediately after that, you had the Pat Croce versus Ed Snyder thing. Like, that was bananas. It's hard to find somebody that is going to be in charge for a long time. And now everyone that takes over that role of being in charge, everyone of the 76ers fan base has trust issues. Like, you don't trust anybody to run this team. And no matter what, whoever comes in, maybe another GM or another president of basketball operations person with final say, Daryl Morey. Maybe another one doesn't re-sign Joel Embiid to the extension. Maybe you're not in the cap hell as many publications put the Sixers rightfully so in. Maybe it's different that way. But when you have so many different cooks in the kitchen, so many people making different decisions over the last 25 years, it adds up to, unfortunately, what the Sixers tried so hard through the process to get over, which was basketball mediocrity. And that's where they still are, unfortunately, because no GM, no president of basketball ops is going to come in here and wave a magic wand, and all of a sudden Joel Embiid is going to be healthy. Ben Simmons learned how to shoot, like make him learn how to shoot while he was here or be willing to shoot. Keep Jimmy Butler here for an extended period of time. There are just so many different avenues to go down over the last 25 years. I think it just turns into a turnstile of people making those final decisions to at least attempt to get the 76ers past mediocrity.
Yeah, I agree 100%, with that is too many cooks in the kitchen. But also I think what it was is the reason why it was too many cooks in the kitchen. I felt like, that all stems from ownership, right? I feel like, you have guys there who, they look at it and they think it's fantasy basketball, right? Like, I mean, and it's not a knock, but it's kind of like, you're diehard basketball fans and you think it's a whole lot easier than what it is. So you're like, okay, let's get this guy in here. He's a great player. He's this and that. Like, even going back to the process years, some of these guys that they picked up, the guys who they would sign in and get workouts with, whenever you looked at their resumes, for the majority of them, they were all like pretty good high school players, right? Guys who, when they went to college, they were supposed to be the guy, but it just didn't work out for them. Or like they had you spent 2 years in the league and then they just fell off. And what the Sixers are doing is, okay, let's get them in here. Let's work them out. Let's see how it works out. And we quickly found out in most instances that the guy just wasn't any good, right? but that's what they were doing. It was kind of like, oh yeah, I heard of him. He was supposed to be pretty good. Let's go get him,
Right.
And the one thing that I will say, and this is a little bit going off topic, just slightly, a bit, but when I was watching the Commanders game, and they went to the owner's box, the Commanders and Giants, and up in there he was sitting there he was standing there, Josh Harris, next to Bob Myers, and I'm saying to myself, like, well, you hear that Bob does not want to move to Philadelphia. He doesn't want to move to the East Coast. He doesn't want to do this, but he is a consultant for the Commanders. And every time I see games a lot, I see Bob in Washington. So the thing is, it's like you feel like if they have to clean house, what will it take Bob Myers to come to Philadelphia and help the 76ers? Because he's a guy that has a proven track record of making the great decisions. So, I don't know. I keep looking at it and I keep saying, like, maybe they have to throw the bank at him because evidently, and you have to imagine that Josh Harris, as sometimes says, hey, I know I keep asking about the Commanders, but basketball is your sport. What do you feel about what we're doing here in Philadelphia? You know what I mean? So,
oh yeah, no, you don't hold back.
Be honest. Be honest. Just let me know. And then you remember, even in the summer league, Bob was sitting there watching the Sixers play, sitting next to Elton Brand. On the other side of Elton Brand was Daryl Morey and Nick Nurse. So, it's like, I'm pretty sure like that conversation had to come up a couple times.
Yeah, and we've highlighted many times over the last couple of months now. Daryl Morey's on the hot seat. There is no other way to look at it. Nick Nurse could be on the hot seat as well. Maybe another president of basketball ops comes in and says, oh, no, I'll give Nurse another year and see what he could do with things that how I change this team or whatever. But now that I'm done venting, at least, when it comes to the last 25 years and trying to find, and our friend Peter Thurman pointed it out there as well, as you just said, maybe it's time to clean house. But I do look at the last 25 years, and there have been, I hate to admit it, there's been some pleasant surprises. There have been some great moments. The process certainly hasn't worked out to the point where you're actually competing for championships. You've had some pretty great teams for the regular season that unfortunately fizzled out in the postseason. There are some great moments since that finals run. When you think about the last 25 years, and I'll open this up to our listeners, I'll open this up on social media as well. We'll be asking this question as we lead up to the season. But what are two things? One, why haven't the Sixers been back? If you had to say there was a number one reason as to why the Sixers haven't been back to the finals in 25 years, what is it? And then also, are there moments that you really did enjoy over the last 25 years watching the 76ers? The one that does jump to mind for me is Andre Iguodala, Keith, at the foul line against the Bulls, Game 6, round 1 of the playoffs. Sixers are down a point. He knocks both free throws down, and you actually go on to play against the Boston Celtics, the Paul Pierce, Ray Allen, Kevin Garnett, Rajon Rondo, Boston Celtics. Before they lost, go figure, in Game 7 of the second round. If you have a moment over the last 25 years, is it a moment that you go back to and go, man, that was pretty cool?
Yeah, you know what? I think it might have been, I want to say it was the 2017-18 season, was it? When
Jimmy Butler?
That was 2019 when they got.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, so it was the year where they made the playoffs the first time in a while, and they ended up, people forget, they were rolling towards the end of the season. They picked up Ersan Ilyasova, Marco Bellinelli, and then in the buyout market, and then all of a sudden, they go on this major run. And I believe they ended the regular season with 19 straight games. They won 20-something out of 26 games. They go and they play the Miami Heat in the first round of the playoffs, and they win that series, and they go to Boston. Now, again, they lost to Boston in 5 games, But at that particular time, everything looked up, right? You're saying to yourself, you got a young Joel Embiid, you have Ben Simmons. The biggest question was, are they going to bring back these shooters? They didn't. But at the same time, at that particular time, I felt like that was, coming off of those lean years, when they won 10 games, they won 19 games, the struggle, you actually felt like the 76ers were going to turn a corner, right? You actually felt that way. So to me, that was one of the most memorable times, just because you saw, thanks, Pete, it was 20 out of 26, but you saw at that particular time where it was one of those things where you just felt like they're here. They're going to be a contender. They're going to be a contender.
My takeaway from that series was Ben Simmons had a 1-point game. He had 1 point. He was 0 for 4 from the field. And I thought, all right, yeah, he does everything else great, but this is only the beginning, right? Like, he's going to build on this, right? Right. Yeah. I think that was also the series after they beat the Heat 4-1 in 5 games. And I think, was that Justin? What was the guy's name? Justin. They called him Simba. Was it Justin Alexander? James Alexander? What the heck was that guy's name? Justin Anderson. Justin Anderson.
Yeah.
Dwayne Wade tried to break his arm on an out of bounds play. I remember that. But yeah, that was wild. But I do remember that. Yeah, they won their first round, and then they hit a wall. And then, as fate would have it, they'd hit that wall that was entitled the Boston Celtics. Little leprechaun painted on that wall for 3 or 4 times after that. So good times. But yeah, that was a good moment in terms of, all right, this is just the beginning. Let's go. Let's make something happen.
I mean, that's what you thought. I mean, think about this. Like, the 76ers were, dude, it's crazy because when you think about where the 76ers came from to where they were at that particular time, when you would go on the road, like, everyone wanted to see Joel Embiid play. Like, you would go on the West Coast and you would hear EAGLES, let's go Sixers chant. It was like they were one of the top teams that people wanted to see on the road, right? And you remember, like, I mean, they went to China to play preseason games. They've been to London. They've been to England twice. They've been all over. They've been all over, and it was like the league was starting to embrace them. So you felt like, okay, this team is going to be good. Now, another thing is teams like the Miami Heat, the Boston Celtics, just name a couple squads that were contenders. They were like in rebuilding processes. So it's like they were like, oh, well, we got to rebuild again. You know what I mean? Like the Heat won the championship early on. We know that. But then they had to go through, they lost LeBron. They had to rebuild. The Boston Celtics, they started off struggling the same time the Sixers did. They got good, but then they had to reload again. And it's like you look at it and, while the Sixers at that particular time were supposed to be the squad. They were supposed to be the team that was going to, go on and win a championship. And now the sad part about this whole 25 years thing is we're celebrating. They're actually celebrating the team that lost. Because they have nothing else to celebrate right now. It's all about, and it's sad.
Yeah, you're right.
From a marketing standpoint, you say to yourself, like, look, we're going to sell tickets. They're going to wear these throwback jerseys. We're going to have fun with it. But man, 2 years ago, you could have celebrated the 40th anniversary of the 1983 team, right? At least they won the chip. So now we're celebrating the team that lost in 6 games, that won the first game and then lost the next 4 because they made it because they won the conference championship. It just tells you how lean things have been over the last 25 years. It's kind of sad, actually. Kind of sad.
Now you're making me act. Yeah, now you're acting. Now, see, I don't get sad. I get rageful. Because I think about all the memories that could have been made down there, and better moments that could have been had down there. So we'll ask the question over the next couple of weeks. What are your favorite moments? In a positive way, what are your favorite moments from the last 25 years? Although, yes, we did not get to enjoy a championship in the city of Philadelphia. We did not get to enjoy even being out of the second round in Philadelphia. But if you have some good moments that you like, please feel free to share it with us. And also, what's your number one reason why it's been 25 years since a finals appearance, since a conference championship in Philadelphia? When we come back, we've talked about the name Justin Edwards quite a bit, mostly during the summer league. We've laid off. We've mentioned him a couple of times. Really haven't got into it. What is the real role? We're doing our examination of some players here going up to the regular season. We've talked about Jared McCain, a forgotten man. We've talked about Janai Broom. And next up, we're going to talk about Justin Edwards and what you can really expect from him going forward. All that and more on this edition of Locked On 76ers. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. Back after this. And now let me tell you about FanDuel and how fantastic FanDuel is. NFL season is upon us, and FanDuel is where to be. Make sure you're ready for kickoff each and every game day with a can't-miss offer like this. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel because it fits however I like to bet, whether it's player props, building same-game parlay, or even jumping into the live action. FanDuel helps make every single game, whether it's baseball, football, basketball, whatever the case might be, even more exciting. It's quick, it's easy, that's the best way to add that energy to your game days. Also, you make it more exciting, whether you're watching your team or another team, it's a fantastic time. So, are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app right now by visiting FanDuel.com. That's FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. And if it hits, $300 in bonus bets across the app. That's FanDuel.com. And Keith, we got to get into our top 100 here. We're breaking it down also with the great people of Locked On NBA. We'll release those in our last segment. We'll talk about some of those spots, as well as Joel Embiid, as well as Tyrese Maxey, as well as Paul George, and where they rank on the NBA top 100. Brought to you by Locked On. So we'll get into that a little bit later. You've mentioned this name a bunch, Keith. I honestly, I'm at a loss. I don't know what to expect from Justin Edwards, but after watching, I know it's only summer league, but you're talking about a guy who proved himself as an NBA player. I thought last year didn't really look like he had all his wits about him. I don't know. What are we to make of Justin Edwards, and what should our expectations be with Justin Edwards in the upcoming season?
No, that's a great point. Like when you say he didn't have his wits about him, I think Justin Edwards is who we've seen, right, the last couple of years. I think that, Justin Edwards is a pretty good team player, a pretty good role player, right? He's the type of guy that you put him in there playing against elite guys, and he does, role player things, but he does it at like a high level. I mean, even when you looked at some of the high school games that I saw him play in, like the videos that I watched, there were certain games like, if they really needed him to do something, if they really needed him to do something, he would do it. But for the most part, he was more of a facilitator, getting everybody involved, playing multiple positions. And when he goes to Kentucky, it was kind of like, he wasn't aggressive at times the way that people felt that he should have been. The same way for Summer League. But on this team, if you have Joel Embiid, you have Paul George, you have Tyrese Maxey, he's the type of guy that you're going to say, you know what, go out there and guard Kevin Durant. Do all you can do. We know that Kevin Durant is going to get some points, but make him work hard for it. Make him work extremely hard to where he's going to get tired. He's going to do things like that. Okay, we're going to need you to grab rebounds. We're going to need you to do all types of other things. I think that's who Justin Edwards is right now in his career. And, those are the type of guys that don't get drafted high, right? But at the same time, they can, make a little imprint on the team, like a guy in the locker room who's going to be really appreciated, even though the media members aren't going to talk about, his 5 points, his 6 rebounds, and, a steal and a block. They're not going to talk about that. They're going to talk about Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid. So I think that's what we can expect from, Justin Edwards' role this season.
Yeah, the guys that really jumped out, especially in the last month of the season, and I know we've noted this before, but Dembone is one of them, and then obviously Quentin Grimes, which is why I do understand, of course, the Sixers' interest in Quentin Grimes, but Justin Edwards, I just thought left a lot to be desired. He wasn't a guy that really jumped off the film, as they say to me, when I'd go back and rewatch games or even in the games live watching. It just, I don't know, something seemed, he certainly earned his spot. I'll say that. But when I was waiting for that next step forward, once he could have a little bit more comfortability, being that he was going to be around for a minute, I thought you'd see a little bit more from him. And yeah, absolutely. We're talking about a role player here. I think anyone who's expecting him to take some kind of giant Maxian leap forward, to use that phrase, I think is just setting their expectations a little too high. But I'm still not sure just to what to make of him. He's going to get an opportunity this year, as everybody is, granted the injuries that the Sixers have to be worried about and the Sixers fan base are worried about as well. He's going to get that opportunity. I'm hoping he makes a hell of a lot more of it than he did during Summer League. I'll at least set the bar right there. I think it'll be a little bit better than what we saw. And then the other thing is, and we said this during the process of the Summer League playing out, it wasn't like he was surrounded by, wild NBA talent. He's got to get used to being a guy that is going to be more of a main cog in the wheel in that type of environment, a Summer League environment. So not having some of that more marquee talent around him makes him more of a focal point. And with that challenge in front of him, I just don't think he responded well to it.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what it is. So you look at him and you say to yourself, okay, so let's just say if they bring everybody back, like it looks like they're trying to dump people, but let's just say if everybody comes back, right? Where do you see Justin Edwards at in the rotation? You know what I mean? I don't see you know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
so that's what we're talking about now. Like you don't now, who knows? Maybe they may feel like if you get rid of Kelly Oubre, he can get more minutes and do certain things. But when we look at it, it's kind of like, okay, he's a rotation player, but how many minutes is he going to get a game? Like, are you drawing up plays for him? No, so, it's one of those things where we look at him and he's just going to be a role player that does role player things and playing defense and doing and stuff like that. I felt like
I'll tell you right now, that's a good barometer, though. I think that's a good bar. As far as does he make you feel better in the event that the Sixers do trade Kelly Oubre? And I'll answer that right now. Nope.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm gonna give him a little bit of a chance, but at the same time, he has to be a little bit more aggressive. He has to look more for his own shot. That he does it. You're not going to be ranked number 1 in the country and number 3 in the country because he dropped to number 3 at the end of the season if you don't have any talent.
All right.
You just can't be. That's a major miss. Now, the problem is, because of that, he didn't impress. Now, he did have some injury. He missed some games at Kentucky. But still, he didn't impress enough NBA scouts for him to go undrafted. Now, he probably would have been drafted in the second round, but what happens is a lot of NBA agents, Rich Paul, was probably calling teams. I shouldn't say probably, but he was calling teams saying, look, don't draft my guy because we have a destination that we, going to, and that destination was the 76ers.
Fair enough. Keith, before we hit this quick stoppage here, I just want to ask you this. You've been in a lot of media scrums over the years.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you're aware of what happened last night at the Aaron Nola media scrum after he took it to the Mets, 6 scoreless innings. There was a rather unfortunate incident that happened. I consider it to be hilarious because I am still a child at heart. We come back, I'm going to ask you the weirdest thing in a media scrum, and of course I'll ask you about Quentin Grimes and whether or not he has signed yet with the 76ers. All that and more when we return. This is Locked On 76ers.
Mm-hmm.
So first, I'll just ask you: has Quentin Grimes been signed yet?
Nah, but you know what? Here's the thing, though. I think it could be something could happen soon. At least that's the impression. So yesterday, I don't know if you noticed this, but on IG, yesterday around like noon or whatever, on his IG story, Quentin Grimes posted a picture of him with a Sixers jersey on. Yeah, man. So I mean, I know, and a lot of people are like, oh. So so a lot of people were a lot of people were happy about that, and then it just
Internet
seems like,
detectives,
huh?
internet detectives.
The internet detectives were out left and right. I mean, but the internet detectives also did tell us that Gershon Yabusele was coming back. You remember? Because he bought a. Because remember they like, oh yeah, he's getting a house.
Bought a house. Yeah,
he bought a house. He bought a house, and like, and remember I was like, you don't know with that, because some of these guys, they get stuff, but it's like contingent on if they make the team or they stay with the team. But anyway, so yeah, like I do feel like that something could happen. I do feel like something could happen quickly.
All right. Now, when you say quick, do you mean something this week? Do you mean 2 weeks? Any form of a timeline?
I mean, it depends. Like, like the one thing we were talking about yesterday is like the report about they're trying to dump salary to help with the CBA and all that, to get underneath the apron. So the thing is, it's just like, if ideal spot, I guess you got to figure out a team that has enough, identify teams who have enough cap space to take on those salaries, right? But at the same time, what type of assets are you going to give to those teams to entice them to do that as well? So, but I do think the fact that Quentin came out and did something, it leads me to believe that he at least thinks that something is in the works, or maybe he's getting a little impatient. But when typically you don't see players do stuff like that at this time of the year when they're unsigned.
Fair enough. Well, we're going to get into the top 100 tomorrow, but Key, so last night, Aaron Nola tossed 6 scoreless innings and then did his post-game media scrum. So the media is all huddled around him, and in the middle of him answering a question, somebody let one loose. Okay? It reminded me, if you're familiar with the acclaimed film Step Brothers, starring Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly, I thought it would be silent, for those that get the reference. What's the weirdest thing you've ever encountered in a media scrum?
You know what? It's funny. Like, the funniest thing that ever happened is, like, people forget, like, me and Doc Rivers got into it one time.
Okay.
Like, yeah, it was, but it wasn't weird. It was crazy because I guess I could have probably made, well, anyway, so they won the game, but they beat a Toronto Raptors team. That was like the season where it was like the COVID season, not the one where they had the bubble.
Okay.
But the following season.
All right.
I mean, you could go on the internet and just type it up, and it's like dumbass question. So what happened is they played a team that was basically dudes off the street, right? And they barely won. And it was like, I guess you say a win is a win and it's a good win. Any win is a good win, but it wasn't. So their effort was out of it. And so I asked Doc about it, the effort, and he was like, that's a dumbass question.
Oh, that's
like, right. That's a dumbass question. So like, I'm like, bruh, like, I'm looking at you on the sidelines getting all upset and this and that, and now you're saying it's a dumbass question. So then the next question I asked him was, why are you getting so emotional? And then he quit, right? So yeah, that was kind of crazy. So like, that was on me.
That on the Zoom? Was that one of them Zoom?
Nah, bro. This was like, we were in Toronto. We were in Toronto. So it was face to face. It was face to face, and everybody was looking, and they're like, "Oh gosh!" And then the next morning, it was all over everywhere. But yeah, it was crazy. I was like, "Yo, why are you so emotional?"
Oh man,
he went off. Oh, I'm like, yo, but it was weird because then we saw each other the next day. Like, we actually talked afterwards. Like that's the thing. The cameras didn't see it, and we talked. And then the next day it was we were at practice, and he's like looking at me, and I'm looking at him. But no one wants to apologize, right? It's like, freak him. No, he owes me apology. One of them. But I will say this. what happened? I got COVID like 2 days later, right? And he was like one of the first people to call. Like he reached out to me and was all this and that. So it was kind of bizarre. But yeah, he was like, yeah, that was on me. But that was one of the weirdest things that I got into. I mean, that I've been around. Yeah, I've been around. Jimmy Butler used to be funny though. He used to be funny. Like Jimmy Butler was the type of dude like post game or whatever. Like he would just say stuff. And it was like he would always like try to just to test, like he was a type of guy. He likes confrontation in a way, so he would say something, and if you didn't say anything back to him, like, oh, it was game on after that. Like he would just mess with you, you know. So I would laugh at that. Like he would, like, people were like, so Jimmy would look at people, and sometimes see people like try not to make eye contact because he was going to zoom in on them. But nah, that was funny too. But yeah, the
fun,
yeah. Dumbass question.
I mentioned. And you should have been like, Doc, it was a scheduled question. Sorry, whatever. All right. Hey, I mentioned the top 100. Make sure you guys check it out. NBA, Locked On NBA Top 100 is here. Voted on by NBA hosts of the Locked On Podcast Network. Our top 100 was formed by experts that cover these teams and players every day. Find the full list of Locked On Sports today on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Don't miss our reaction, including Keith and I, to Joel Embiid, Paul George, and Tyrese Maxey, where they rank on the list. So make sure you guys check it out. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Make sure you guys hit like and subscribe to the Locked On Sixers YouTube channel. We'll be back with you guys tomorrow. Hit us up. I'll put the question out there on social media as well. Best moments of the last 25 years, as well as why it's been 25 years. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Catch you guys tomorrow. See you then.